It is time for the EasyPal Net. The EasyPal Net is a sanctioned activity by the repeater owner-operator Amateur Radio Victoria, and we thank them for allowing us to use the repeater for our hobby. We meet on this repeater every 9 p.m. or every Thursday evening at 9 p.m. For our EasyPal images. We transmit and receive images using the slow scan imaging software called EasyPal. It's a digital format and allows for a much detailed image quality without the static you get from the analog methods. We also have a Facebook page, so feel free to jump on that. We try to keep it up to date with the images sent through from the night. Sometimes we get a little bit behind, but we do try to keep it relatively up to date. Okay, it appears that is all for the start of the net tonight. So we'll pass it over to Chris, VK3AML. How are you? How's your week been? And we're ready for your first image when you are.
No worries, Tim, and I think it's John and Chris. Just jotting that down. I'm recording in video off the screen grabs tonight's session with the idea of editing it down and running it as part of my Saturday night session. Just to show people what EasyPal's like, with pertinent bits left in and the slow bits left out. So to start the night off, this is a picture taken outside the meeting venue of the Sherbrooke Amateur Radio Club on Monday night, with the porcupine cars. Only amateur radio operators will understand what I mean by that. The porcupine cars lined up outside the church hall in which we meet. VK3AML with an EasyPal pic on the drop of the repeater. VK3AML, VK3FTZD and the EasyPal Net. Full decode on that at 18 dB. VK3AML, Chris, had a description on this image when you're ready. Yeah, well, this is around the back of the church hall in Boronia, in which the Sherbrooke Amateur Radio Club meets first Monday of each month, about 7 p.m. The central car there, the big one with the custom-built back on it, the ute, is Jim VK3AMN's vehicle, which he's taken into Central Australia on many occasions. He was tied up with national parks and the tracking of various types of bird in his working life, and now in his retirement he revels in camping. So he's kind of the focus of the camping aspects of the group. The others, I'm not sure who belongs to which car. I think the car on the left of his is Peter VK3ACZ's, the silver one. There were 3 other cars parked on the car park on the other side, so there was a total of, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, would have been 11 cars with about maybe 15 blokes there, and a couple came by public transport, including me. Anyway, Sherbrooke Amateur Radio Club, VK3FTZD, VK3AML.
Thanks there, Chris. Excellent image. Okay, we are over to VK3/M0PTV. How's your week been? How are you? And we're ready for your first image for the night when you are.
VK3/M0PTV. Survived another week, that's all I can say, Tim. It's been had its ups and downs, but I'm still here. been trying to do some work, did some gardening, did my regular routine that I'm here for. And it was good to defocus myself on some other things, but other than that, I sort of look forward to a bit of radio and hope to get maybe possibly some HF up and running once I get my antennas up. So, yep, I'm ready for the next image. Hopefully all the hardware is working. I've adjusted my levels slightly from last week's recommendation, so I dropped it a little bit, so hopefully my signal to noise will be a little bit better. So the drop of the repeater, here we go.
VK3/M0PTV, this is the VK3FTZD and the EasyPal Net. That's weird. The ID says CUF M0PTV. That's weird. That looks... Is that a power injector maybe? I don't know. Or is it an active... I'm not 100% sure. VK/M0PTV. Please explain. I'm very curious on this one.
VK3/M0PTV. I thought I'd start with a little bit of a techie image today. This is actually a well, it's an RF module, okay? It's manufactured by NXP, which is a division of Philips. They make RF power transistors, quite a lot of hardware that's used in UHF, VHF, telecommunications, even HF, a lot of the LD MOS devices. So this is based on an MRF 101, which is can be driven until about 110, 120 watts. It's very efficient. That's 80%. And it's a demonstrator design. Essentially, there's a little printed circuit board that you can see with the two SMA connectors. You get two of the transistors, right? So you've got both the N and P variants, and no components. And the whole kit, when I bought it, cost about $50. Which is extremely great value because just SMAs that you can imagine and the little printed circuit board and the mounting bracket will probably cost you that much just to make it yourself. Not to mention the transistors on their own are about $30 a piece, so you get two of them, so that already pays for the board. So it was excellent value, and I actually made a little module. It was, let's have a look, the one that I did was, I was trying to use it for HF, and I think I tuned it up for about, it was in the 11 meter band. The thing is that those little conductors, the little coils. They're already pre-manufactured, and you can buy these coils for the various values. So the only thing that differs for depending what frequency band you want to operate it on are the coils and a couple of surface mount capacitors. So it's essentially a generic design. Now obviously you need a bandpass filter at the end of it. That will work quite well, but there will be some harmonics as well, so you want to eliminate that if you're going to be using it on air. But yeah, I just couldn't resist it. I got this module maybe 2 years ago now. I think that's probably still available. I bought it from Mouse Electronics. If you know about them, you can probably find them. I don't know if they still do these modules, but there is a PDF file that tells you all the component values for the various frequencies and designs. So it's a good little module. Now the whole idea of the base plate is that you screw this on to a big slab of copper, because obviously that will be dissipating over 100 watts. So that's basically what it is. Hope you guys find it interesting. VK3/M0BTV back to VK3 FTZD.
Yeah, excellent image. Awesome. Over to Chris, VK3CJN, for the next image. How's your week been? How are you? And we're ready when you are.
Well, it's just been a week. First market for the year last Sunday. Beautiful day for it. The weather was fantastic. So we didn't get totally exhausted. We were pretty whacked by the end of the day, but it was quite good. Next one, next Sunday, down near Chris's place. Yeah, I'm good. Everything's ticking along nicely at the moment. Haven't done anything as far as radio is concerned, really, apart from organising. I have organised for the Yarra Valley Amateur Radio Group to activate the VK90 ABC call sign on the weekend of the 19th and 20th of March from the club rooms. So that'll be an opportunity for the club members to get together, and anybody else who wants to come along, of course, and work some stations using a special call sign. So yeah, that's probably about it. So at the drop of the repeater, VK3CJN will throw what I think is an interesting picture that I found just today in one of the Facebook groups I'm a member of. VK3CJN. Yeah, this Oliver, the APO number 3 was the tool of choice for telecommunications techs and linesmen for measuring voltages, current resistances, and a few other things. It superseded the APO number 2, which from memory didn't have a current range. I think that was the only difference. So it didn't have the shunts in there or the switch positions for amps. They were 1,000 ohms per volt. So for that 100 volts full scale deflection, means it was 100,000 ohms. So it wasn't a very highly accurate meter across circuits of high resistance because it loaded the circuit up. But for what most of the stuff that we needed, which was 50 volt stuff, switching relays and switches and phone circuits and things like that, it was a pretty decent sort of an instrument. And yeah, the mirror on the scale was very good for avoiding parallax, and they were a jolly reliable instrument. They came in a solid leather case that was stitched, not glued together, and if I remember correctly, I think one of the first practical sessions we had at the training school, we all had one of these meters on our desk, and I remember the instructor saying, if you drop it, make sure you kick it. At that stage, they were about $300 a pop in 1970, which was a lot of money. It was about 6 weeks' pay for me. Yeah, if you drop it, make sure you kick it. In other words, don't let it hit the ground on the full. Yeah, they stood the test of time. They're still around. They're still being used by people, and they draw a fairly decent price on the market. VK3 FTZD, VK3 CJN.
Thanks there, Chris. I will have to see if I can dig out the old meter that I've got here. I've got one here that says it's rated for like 600 volts or something, an old meter. But yeah, I'll have to try to find what I did with it. Yeah, not sure. With that, it's actually over to me. How's my week been? Yeah, busy, too much work, not enough play. You know, the usual. Yeah, with that, I'll transmit my next image. This is VK3 FTZD with an EasyPal image at the drop of the repeater. Okay, so this radio is a new toy I got today. It came in the mail today. It is a P25 digital Motorola. It's what they call an XTS 2500. Z1 means Zone 1 Simplex. It's just a default frequency that's been put into it. I have not programmed it yet. It's actually sitting on my desk here waiting for me to build the programming cable so I can program it up to use with one of my hotspots on P25. So there you go, and I might experiment with that, actually using P25 gateway to convert the P25 data stream into it's not P25 gateway, it's something else, but it'll convert the digital stream into a virtual analog stream, much like your virtual audio cable, and then it'll convert it into a DMR signal and go out onto the DMR network. I've got DMR radios anyway, but it's just one of those fun things to do all inside a hotspot or on a little DMR server. Yeah, so this is a little Motorola P25 high-end Project 25 digital radio. There you go. With that, over to Chris, VK3 AML, for the next image when you are ready.
Okay, well, the signals are going through this week. This is the Behringer compressor limiter. I think it's MDX 2600 that I'm currently using. I'm still getting used to setting the levels of this particularly working out what the levels are for EasyPal compared to voice, which are slightly different. But basically this holds your peak level to a level that the transmitter can handle in terms of deviation. The expander gate on the left I don't use for most things. The threshold I have limited to -10, that is, anything above -10 comes out at the same level regardless. The dB ratio means that it's peak limited, not volume compressed. And then I have the minimum possible attack time, almost the maximum release time. And I'm giving the output to the transmitter at 0 dB. De-esser I don't use for digital transmission, so hopefully I'll get the levels with this right so that the levels from the computer will no longer be as critical in setting when I transmit. Just a little bit of refinement to the gear for transmitting here. It'll be even more useful when I go to HF and am transmitting sideband. VK3FTZD, VK3AML.
Yeah, excellent. Good image. VK3/M0PTV, you're up for the next image when you are ready.
Okay, this is another techie image, might be of interest to some of you, so hopefully it will go at the drop of the repeater. Here we go. VK3/M0PTV. Right, well, obviously this is the inside of a box, but I think you're sort of correct there in a way, Tim. You probably saw that little big can there. It's not a very high resolution image, unfortunately, but that's a temperature oven. It's basically an oven-controlled crystal oscillator. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the close-up of that PCB there, you can see that there's multiple mounting holes for various types of oven-controlled crystal oscillators. Now, all of those oscillators, the reason for that is that the people who are making this particular unit, which I'll identify in a minute, they were getting all of these oscillators from tear-down analog GSM systems. Oscillators are quite expensive, but the surplus ones, they still got quite a lot of hours of life left in them. We're talking about, hundreds and hundreds of hours, and they obviously a dime a dozen, as they say. So they used various types, and I can't remember. I think there's a way of actually checking to see how old your oscillator is anyway. So this one still was in pretty good nick. Now, this is the insides of a device made by a Chinese bloke. He's a ham radio guy. Well, he's got a company, presumably, but it's the Bravo Golf 7 Tango Bravo Lima GPSDO, which is a GPS discipline oscillator. It's got quite a lot of circuitry on the other side, where it's actually got the GSM module on the back, and quite a lot of other processors, like the actual brains. I think it's a STM32 processor on there, and some memory and so forth. But the interesting thing is this oscillator, because of how they sort of surplus the oscillators into the module. GPS discipline oscillators are quite interesting, and it's another story for another day, but I had to get one of those to sort of check some references out, and there's actually a way of actually determining how accurate this lock is. And when I was testing it, I managed to get accuracy to 1/1000th of 1 hertz. I think it was, 1/10,000th of 1 hertz. So that's pretty good. And I'll tell you how you can check that. If you guys are interested, I can tell you how to do it. You need an oscilloscope, obviously, and using Lissitude figures. So that's a clue. So I hope that's interesting. VK3/N0PTV, back to VK3FTZD.
That is very, very interesting. Yeah, that's a really cool piece of tech. I used to have a bunch of those crystals in massive cans like that, just floating around inside devices. But yeah, ended up getting rid of them all because they were just collecting dust. Never going to use them. All 10 megs. Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay, we're over to Chris, VK3CJN, for the next image.
Just as well, I've loaded one at the drop of the repeater. Prepare to have a laugh. Maybe moo. No, I don't think it needs any further embellishment. I think it says everything it needs to say.
Excellent. Okay. At the drop of the repeater, I will transmit an image of a little guy that I saw today. And had to take a photo of him. This was at one of the stations I was at today. VK3FTZD with an EasyPal image at the drop of the repeater. Awesome. Well, this little guy, he was actually, he was quite big, probably one of the biggest ones I've seen for a while. And to take this photo, yes, there was a lot of light, and he's also on a blue background, so it affected the camera a little bit. It was taken actually on my crappy Samsung phone, and the only thing I used was the zoom function, and zoomed in like 2 times or something, and took the photo. I was just able to hold it steady enough to get a good photo like that, and then I tried the macro function, and just as I took the photo, he turned his head to look straight at me, and I went, oh, I probably shouldn't disturb him too much. He was certainly away from any plant life, that's for sure. So there you go. With that, we'll go over to Chris, VK3AML, for the next image, when you are ready. Awesome. Let's put that down there. Okay, over to Chris, VK3AML, for comment.
Righto, that's the revised audio rack. 8-channel mixer at the top. Top right is an interface box to allow me to record in and out into the system. ETI Series 5000 third octave graphic, which at the moment I'm not using. Well, it's in circuit, but it's not doing anything. It's flat, as you see. The next one down is the new Behringer audio peak limiter, which is almost the same, very slightly modified version of the one that Andrew VK3BEK has, which he allowed me to borrow back around Christmas time, and at the start of February, the 1st of February, the DJ place I deal with rang me up to say that they got a new stock of them in, and so we got that one. And at the bottom is just the monitor amplifier. It's an old thing. I've been in the family since the 70s, a 30 watt, fairly basic audio amplifier and integral FM tuner. VK3FTZD, VK3AML.
Thanks there, Chris. Over to Joe, VK3-M0PTV. You're up for the next image when you are ready.
VK3-M0PTV. Well, I think it's time for a little laugh. So this is an image that I saw in a YouTube video, but I'm not too sure what the subject matter was about. It just sort of literally just flashed up for a second there, so I screen grabbed it. I think it's a bit of a laugh, so I hope you guys enjoy it at the drop of the repeater. I think the picture says all the comments there, but look, I just couldn't resist it. But I don't know how. Obviously, it was a screen grab in a video, so I don't really know the origins of it. But I suspect that person is just having a snooze. So sometimes you can actually do this to yourself and just close your eyes. But I suspect somebody's just having a prank, and either just for the sake of a photo, or they actually were really going to make a connection there. Obviously, depending on how deep the sleep is, if it is a sleep in the real sense, the person may get disturbed. But like Chris said, they're going to get a hot nose very soon. Anyway, I thought it was amusing. So there we go. So VK3-M0PTV, back to you, Tim. VK3FTZD.
No worries, yeah, good image. Over to Chris, VK3CJN, for the next image when you are ready.
I noticed nobody picked up the grammatical error in it. It should be those of us who do, not those of us that do. But that's the way written English is written these days. That's and who's seem to get transposed and used in place of each other when grammatically they have different effect. But still, that's just because I'm a grammatic pedant. Not peasant, pedant. VK3FTZD, VK3CJN.
Good image there, Chris. And, yeah, Yeah, so it did take me a couple of tries to read it before I went, oh, yeah, that's how they've done it. But, yeah, good job. This is VK3FTZD with an EasyPal image of one of my drone projects at the drop of the repeater. Excellent. So, bit on this drone. It is diagonal from motor to motor is 100 millimeters. So 10 centimeters from motor to motor. Plus, then you add on the props. So, 2 inches onto that. So, we're 150 mil in diameter. Across the longest axis on it. It weighs 100 grams and it will probably go, well, judging by the speed of my other drones when they've got the GPS modules in them, this one here will do about 80 kilometres an hour. And that's absolutely screaming along in the air. It's quite quick for its size. Now this is fully assembled. Essentially it just needs the props put onto it and it's ready for fly. Yeah, quite a lot of fun this thing is. It's quite nimble, it's quite fast, and it will stop on a dime too. Yeah, it's a beautiful little thing to fly. I actually have some footage of it, of me flying it around one of the parks, around a bunch of trees and stuff, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, this little thing. Recently blew the main board in it, so this is actually a full rebuild of it with a 3D printed adapter to run this type of main board instead of the other board that I had on it. Hidden up inside the top of it, you see there's some wires there. Just underneath that is actually the receiver and the video transmitter boards. So they're hidden up in there, out of the way, so you can't actually see them, and they don't interfere. The idea is that this is as light as it can be, but still be complete. The 100 grams that I say that it is, that's including the battery. So that's while it's in the air, it's only 100 grams heavy. So there you go, that's the story of that one. The frame I picked up from a bunch of parts that I ordered. He threw in this little frame, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, that's cute. I then picked up the flight controller, the camera, all the receiver, the video transmitter, the motors, all separately, and built this up from just parts. And it is probably one of my favourite drones. So there you go. With that, we are back up to the top of the list. VK3AML, you're up for the next image when you are ready.
Okay, people, this is a view of the current antenna through which you're hearing me. White vertical Diamond X7000, which has slid down from the top of the pole by about 10 centimetres, so I'm going to have to correct that. And I've just bought some LL400 low-loss coax with some special large PL259 connectors to go on the end of it, or at least one end PL259 for the radio, the other end connector for the antenna. And that'll be installed the next week or two. Probably won't make much difference to 2 metres, but my 70 centimetre signal may be perceptibly better than it was using the existing RG213 rusty coax from 25 years ago. VK3AML with an EasyPal pic on the drop of the repeater. Okay, it's we have a linear park behind our house, And recently our next door neighbour has removed a large paperbark tree which was obscuring this particular view. But this is taken with a fairly long lens so that it gives an accurate impression of the height of the antenna. The JPEG 2 heavy compression has blurred out the three I won't call them guy wires because they're UV resistant plastic coated nylon, thick nylon designed for clothesline use. There are three guys holding that steel antenna up, and the two 6-metre sections of steel pipe are telescoped one within the other with a 1.5 metre overlap. So even without the guy wires, that steel mast has a tremendous amount of ability to resist side thrust. The Diamond X7000 is about 15 years old, was originally belonging to Anthony VK3JIA, and he sold it to me when he moved from Kilsyth to Leongatha back about 10 years ago. So it's been up here for about 7 years, and it hasn't been brought down in all of that time and needs a new feed line. In fact, the most expensive part of the replacement process, and this may interest some of you, is the Nitto self-amalgamating tape necessary to waterproof all of the plugs on the ends. That waterproof tape, 10-metre length, the standard price at this stage is $25 a roll. So it was by far the most expensive piece of equipment bought in renewing this antenna. VK3 FTZD, VK3 AML.
Excellent, good image, Chris. I do like seeing your antenna, your erection. Yeah, but if you're on VK3/M0PTV, you're up for the next image when you are ready.
Victor Kilo M0, Victor VK3/M0PTV. Okay, another techie image. This image, you can probably identify what it is, but I'm not too sure if many of you know what this device is actually used for. So that's the sort of story behind it. But there's a story why I actually decided to put this picture up. It's got something to do with cryptocurrency, but here we go at the drop of the repeater. Victor Kilo 3/M0PTV. I'll give you the background how I came across this cryptocurrency. Basically, you can have electronic wallets. Again, I don't know if you guys follow this at all, but there's a wallet that keeps your keys, and there's several manufacturers that make these wallets, and there's a particular make. It's called a Trezor. And there was a guy that had $2 million worth of crypto on one of his keys, and he forgot his PIN number. And the way these little wallets work is that you've got 3 guesses. Now, it's a 5-digit PIN number. I think it's 5 digits. It varies. Sometimes it can be 6, but between 4 and 6 digits. The thing is that even if you're guessing 4 digits, if you've got 3 attempts, it makes it very difficult. On the final attempt, it just totally erases your key, and you've got a set of recovery words, and if you don't have those recovery words, or something goes wrong, you just don't want to risk it. So this guy, he had 2 attempts at doing the key and failed, and he couldn't remember what the number was, so he decided that he's got to find some way of hacking his little key, and obviously these things are designed not to be hacked. So he went all over the world advertising, who can help me doing this. So he came across a guy who did a video on this, by the way, and this guy is sort of like a retired professional hacker, but he's taken advantage of a defect or a flaw in the way that these devices were manufactured. Essentially, you can glitch them, and I don't know if you guys are familiar what it means, glitching. What you do is you effectively put the microprocessor in a random state, and because it doesn't know what's going on, it actually goes into a debug mode. And when it goes into a debug mode, you can read some of its memory. And in the memory, there's the key, the PIN number that you can sort of recover together with all of the security password words. So the Chip Whisperer is a very clever device. It's FPGA driven. It's got a algorithmic sort of program in there. And what you do is you hook it up to the microprocessor that you are trying to hack, and it basically powers it up and down in random states, essentially giving it a kick. And it's fine-tuning it every time it does that, and it can do it like 10,000 times. And every time it does that, it alters some of the parameters. And the whole idea is that it'll actually boot into this random state, and it actually detects that when it does that. And when it does that, you can get into the system and recover the words, and he was successful in doing it. There's a YouTube video on it. So having said all that, there are devices that will prevent this random booting and glitching, and usually a lot of the military devices, they are specifically designed in such a way that any of the circuitry cannot possibly enter a random state. In other words, by powering it up, it'll always go into a known state. Unfortunately, not all manufacturers manufacture devices that way, because it adds an extra level of complexity, and for the general use of the public, it's not something that's done. So that's the background on it. I hope you find it interesting. VK3/M0PTV, back to VK3FTZD.
Yeah, that's an excellent image. Yeah, very, very nice, and nice piece of kit. With that, over to Chris, VK3CJN, for the next image.
The giveaway is the file name where the tower was. One of 2 pictures. I'm not going to send the other one because I don't think there's any point. But yes, this is where the TCN9 tower was, from the series of pictures that I sent last year. Picked up on the 20th of January, so I suppose another week and nearly 2 weeks. Since then, there'll be a fair amount of work done on that site. Since then, I'm guessing there's going to be a hole in the ground of some sort. So, yes, Willoughby, in Willoughby? I can't remember. Somewhere in Sydney, anyhow. And I thought, just as a finish up of that series of photos that somebody very nicely put on the internet for us. That would finish the whole project off as far as the EasyPal Net is concerned. VK3FTZD, VK3CJN.
Awesome, thanks Chris. Okay, with that, I've got an amusing image, a funny image to transmit. At the drop of the repeater, this is VK3FTZD with an EasyPal image. Oh dear, well, the image is, it's got car repairs at the top of the screen. It looks like a workshop here, and there's a car there with some scratches on it, and it says here, your car has been keyed. The good news is that the damage appears to be minor, and the scratches on the car has a bunch of lines and a treble clef, and some hashes on the sharp symbols on a couple of the lines to indicate the B minor chord. So there you go. It has been keyed, but it appears to be minor. Yeah, VK3AML, Chris, over to you for the next image.
A little play on words. VK3 Alpha Mike Lima with an EasyPal pic on the drop of the repeater. This may be a repetition for some people, but I thought it was worth throwing in. Yeah, that's the chief interface box that goes between the big computer, not the computer in the background there. That's that little computer is a standby. It's suitable for web browsing and basic stuff. But the big computer I've got here is quad core and capable of handling quite a lot, including recording frame grabs off the screen, or screen grabs, which I'm recording continuously, screen and audio. I'll edit down an edited version of this to show on Saturday night in the course of my usual Saturday night transmission, just to show what EasyPal is like and what the contents of our contacts are like and how we discuss the various photos. The transformer is salvaged out of a circa 1960 valve audio preamp, so it's got impeccable overload characteristics. It's capable of a hell of a lot more than I'm putting through with it in terms of amplitude, and it's flat nominally from 20 Hertz to 15k. So it's a lot broader in frequency response than is needed, and has a lot more headroom than is needed. But I think for EasyPal multiple subcarrier, where you're looking for a big peak to average throughput in terms of amplitude, it probably is ideal for the job. The rest of it's just resistive padding, audio control. You can see a gain control on the left there, with miscellaneous knobs recovered from other projects, and a transmit receive switch in the front there on the right. VK3FTZD, VK3AML.
M0PTV. Yes, you've got it right. Obviously, it's quite obvious. It's a field radio, backpack radio. It is quite modern there, Chris. I'm not sure exactly the year, but there's quite a lot of those going around in the UK. And what happened is I actually was listening on air via Hack Green, and Hack Green is, well, you probably know, it's a very famous SDR station. It's sort of in the middle of the UK, and there's this guy that's actually been using this radio, and he was actually on 40 meters, and it was excellent audio, and everything was great. And he was talking about his radio, and he said that that's what it was. And a lot of people that were listening to him in the QSO, they basically said, "Oh, we're really amazed at the quality of it." And then he gave him quite a detailed background how he got it and so forth. Apparently, there's bunches of them that were sold surplus from the MOD. They were just literally just dumping them, and I think you can buy a working set between 250 to 300 pounds. Now, okay, that's quite a lot of money. A lot of people still like this type of radio for two reasons. It's a good sort of mobile radio, a good robust HF mobile radio. Hasn't got much power. I think it's only about 2 to 5 watts. So it's a sort of essentially a QRP. But the simplicity of it gives it away. Like if you have a look at the way that you tune it up, you've got these decade boxes, effectively. I call them decade boxes. So you can just dial up your frequency. You can tune up the radio on the sort of band that you're operating it on. It comes with a sort of a robust military style. I think it's a copper whip antenna. It's really high quality. If you were to buy one of those commercial antennas to that spec, you'd be paying a fortune. But yeah, it's a really good radio, and you can look them up on the internet and get all the technical details of it. I'm not too familiar with them directly, but other than the fact that they're quite popular, and people who like doing, what do you call it, camping out, doing sort of country work and so forth. I think it would be a great radio for Australia to use more than the UK, but I don't think you can get them here, so there we go. But definitely an interesting bit of kit, so if you do get a chance to look it up, by all means do. VK3 stroke M0PTV back to VK3 FTZD.
Thanks there, Joe. Excellent image. Over to Chris, VK3 CJN, for the next image when you are ready.
Got me by surprise this time. I was looking at those radios. 3 or 7.5 watts. 280,000 channels. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And that's the TX window. That's where I want to drop that. Alright, something for you to have a read of. And I guess this is going to be my last one for the night, so I'll bid you all a good night. Thank you once again for running it, Tim, and Chris and Tim and Joe for putting in your 2 bob's worth. It's been a fun night once again, and I think this radio's playing up. It's not the volume control or anything. It was still doing it. So I might swap it for the one in the car and see if that works any better next week. All right, at the drop of the repeater, I'll throw this thing out, and you can have a bit of a read. And it's a clipping from a newspaper, so it'll take you a few seconds to read. And I'll bid you all a good night and listen till the end. At the drop of the repeater, VK3CJ, and I'll send an image.
I will let people read that for a few minutes. It's quite amusing. I've read it multiple times before. Yeah. Full decode on that image there, Chris. 20 dB here. Really good, actually. I don't know what's going on with your receive, but your transmit is absolutely spot on. I'll take this moment as well to let everyone know we're nearly at the end of tonight's net. This next one will be, well, this last image was the last image for tonight's net, and all that sort of stuff. And also for those who are listening on the side and going, what are all these funny noises? That's called EasyPal. It's a digital stream of tones that come through, and we decode that with the EasyPal software, and that is a free tool that's available on Windows. You can also use DSSTV, Quebec Sierra Tango Victor, for the Linux environment or Unix-based environment like Mac. That also decodes and encodes the DRM signal. Okay, we'll go over to Chris, VK3AML. How did you go decoding this image?
No problem. 16 dB, VK3FTJN, VK3FTZD, VK3AML. VK3/M0PTV. How did you go decoding this image?
14 dB. Very interesting. It's quite interesting because I had an incident some time ago where I managed to interrupt an attempted burglary, and when I called the police to tell them that this guy is sort of easy to be caught, quick, come over, I had second thoughts after that. Obviously they didn't come over, but I should have said that the guy had a gun and he was threatening people, and I think the response would have been different, but you could get into trouble. So there we go. But that's a good one there, Chris. VK3/M0PTV to VK3STZD.
And we'll go over to Chris, VK3CJN. Was there any comment on this image?
I think it says it all, and I think I've said all I need to say for tonight. Thanks for running it once again, mate, and appreciate it. Cheers for now.
All right, thank you, Chris. VK3AML, Chris, over to you for any comment before we close up.
Yeah, just that I've videoed the images off the screen, running continuous video for the whole 2 hours, and on Saturday night, part of my usual Saturday night presentation, 9 p.m. on 147.475 and YouTube live streaming, we'll be talking about this net and the means used to transmit and receive EasyPal, what we use it for, and how we as jokesters as well as photographic enthusiasts use the medium. VK3FTZD and group. All the best, fellas. VK3AML.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure as always. And if you can you post that? I'll post the link to your live stream on the Facebook page, please. Just so that those who are not familiar with your Saturday night stream or stream/RF transmissions, they can just jump on the Facebook page and stream it that way.
Yeah, no worries. Needless to say, I won't be screening the whole 2 hours. I'll be cutting it down to images being received for the first couple of examples, and then just images plus people's comment, just to show what it's all about. Hopefully generate a bit of interest to get a few more people involved. But no problem in posting onto the Facebook group, which I'll be able to do on the Sunday morning. VK3, when the thing's finished, VK3 FTZD, VK3 AML.
Thanks, Chris. VK3/M0PTV. Any final comments before we close up for the night?
Just thank you so much to the group, and really enjoyed tonight, and obviously ironed out some of my hardware problems. I sort of fine-tuned things a little bit, and obviously I took some advice and finally did the settings. The thing is that if you alter too many parameters at the same time, it's not good, so I think I got it right just now. So thank you so much. You guys take care, stay safe, and hopefully we can catch up once again next week. Look after yourselves. All the best. VK3/M0PTV. Back to you, Tim. VK3STZD.
Thank you, Joe. You have a good evening. Okay, you have been listening to the Thursday Evening EasyPal. We meet on this repeater every Thursday evening at 9 p.m. and we run until about 11 o'clock. We transmit and receive images via the software called EasyPal, and using our radio and the sound card built into our computer. Some of us have really elaborate and intricate connecting leads. Some of us have just direct USB into the radio. But any way that works is great. I've even heard of a microphone to speaker coupling system working really well as well for decoding the images. Thank you everyone for joining in tonight's net. It was a small net, but we still pushed through a large amount of images. Let's see if I can get a final count here. It says 19 images were transmitted for the night. Thank you to VK3AML, VK3/M0PTV, VK3CJN for joining in tonight's net. It was a pleasure having you here. We will see you next week. This is VK3FTZD. I'll close the EasyPal net and return the repeater back to its normal use. 73s everyone, enjoy the rest of the week.